It's Kylie Davis here from Active Pipe and now part of MoxieWorks. And I am really excited to be presenting to you today this new webinar on, well, I'm calling it amazing content marketing in a time of change, because look, we know the market's changing. We know there's an awful lot going on. It can make people really insecure, but it's an awesome opportunity for you as a real estate agent to reach out to the people that you're regularly in contact with and to give them even more reasons to trust you and for you to build a relationship with them. So let's dive straight in. So content marketing in a changing property market. How do we make that experience really amazing? Here's what we're going to be covering today. Now, as if you're an Aussie on the call, I know there's might be a couple of Kiwis, but your interest rates are up a lot too. We know the market is changing. Interest rates are going up. Inflation's going up. What is really happening though, and how anxious should we be, both as agents and how are we seeing that anxiety coming out in the buyers and sellers that we're dealing with? We're going to look at what you need to be saying to different types of clients, and really importantly, we're going to be looking at what kind of tone should you be using. How do you get that tone right so that you don't come across as sort of a smart aleck or come across as a bit smug? And we really don't want to make people scared. We're going to be looking at the tools to make your life really easy that are inside Active Pipe. And then we're going to be looking at, well, how do you incorporate what you're doing in the digital marketing world and through your emails? How does that translate into the conversations that you're having day to day with clients and the phone calls that you're making? Because it makes no sense to be talking one way to clients through your email and then be having very different conversations that are disconnected when you're picking up the phone. So we're going to look at how we bring all of that together. So let's dive right in. So look, what's actually happening at the moment? Well, we know that prices are easing. According to CoreLogic, June, this is sort of in Australia, where this is the worst period since 2008. There's only 12 years, it's not that long ago, but we are seeing prices come down, and we'll talk about, but there's always a flip side to these things because they have been historically at all-time highs. But we know prices are easing, and that makes people a bit scared. We also know that interest rates are rising. Yesterday, thanks very much, Reserve Bank, another 0.5 percentage point on most people's mortgages. If you've got a mortgage of about $500,000, that's about $490 a month extra going onto your mortgage, which can be a bit of an ouch. Inflation's making everything more expensive, and of course there's supply chain issues as well, which this means that everything's slower, or we're finding it harder to get the goods that we want, and they're becoming more expensive. Time on market is rising because it's making it slower to sell because people are starting to get a bit anxious in the market. And of course, vendor discounting is on the rise. So this is all the gloomy news, but there's always a silver cloud. There's always a silver lining behind every cloud. And markets only ever really do three things. They go up, they go down, or they go sideways, but they never go, they never stay put. So this is just a part of the cycle that we are in now. And here's what I want you to understand. Don't panic. Like I said before, markets only ever do three things. They go up, they go down, they go sideways. And this is not our first rodeo. We've been, the markets are always on the move. Economies are always working through different parts of the cycle. And so what we know is that regardless of whatever market we are working in, the people that we're working with, our sellers, our buyers, our renters, our investors, they all just want to know what information have you got that you can share with them that will help them make a confident decision. Because property is one of those things, it's not really arbitrary. Like if you need to move, you need to move. And if the environment around you is a little bit scarier, what we need to be doing as real estate agents and professionals in this space is giving people the information that makes them understand that, yep, okay, the market's changed, that's fine. But there are things I can do right now, and what are they, to basically make sure that I come through this in the best way possible. And that's what our role as real estate agents is to guide our clients to help them make the best decisions possible for them and to make them as confidently as possible, regardless of what is happening in the market outside. Because your clients really want reassurance at times like this. They want to feel confident about the decisions that they're about to make in the current market. And we know this because we did a whole pile of research last year called the Trust Report, looking at how real estate agents are trusted by clients. And we saw some really interesting numbers in that report, if you recall. It showed that 61% of real estate clients would prefer to use the same agent that they used last time, because they've already established that relationship of trust. So most of the people in your database actually are looking back to you to find out what's happening and how they need to be interpreting it. And if they do want to make a decision, they're going to come to you first in that space. And 37% of property clients were going to their real estate agent to research the market. Now, they were very probably, and we could see that, doing other research beforehand. And we could see that they were researching for up to 2 years sometimes before they actually made a decision. But then they would come to a real estate agent to confirm or question further some of the things that they've learned online and the things that they've been learning in their own research. So they're definitely coming to real estate agents as an information source and as an expert in your market, and they're looking to you guys to see what you say, to see if it's going to back up their research or if it's going to provide additional insights that are going to make them feel more comfortable in the decisions that they've got to make. So what do you say? So my grandmother, who was a very ballsy chick, used to always say sunshine makes the best disinfectant. And so I think one of the things that we really can't do at the moment is pretend it's not happening or that it's business as usual. We actually have to be really clear that and transparent in the stuff that we're talking about and just upfront and honest about it. What we need to be doing, though, is helping our clients understand that real estate is not something that you try and game the market with and sort of buy at the peaks and sell sell at the peaks and buy on the lows. You can make money in real estate, at a lot of different times during the cycle. So what we want to do is encourage them to think long term. Most of our clients are buying or selling in or out of forever homes. They're looking at invest in either investments or living in places, and they're going to be there for 7 to 10 years or more. And so what's happening right now is going to affect the price that they buy or sell at, but it's also, but the value of their investment. And time shows this over history, that over 10 years, 7 to 10 years, basically they are going to come out better than what they go in on. So we need to be really pointing out the positives that's going on in the market, not being a complete Pollyanna and pretending there are no negatives, but actually re-emphasizing glass is half full, not half empty. And we need to be sharing with them the strategies that they can take to make sure that they do well in the current market. And so our goal here is to be seen as someone who can help educate them, share more information about the market, and to coach them through what they need to do. And if you've got any questions, pop them into the chat or the question section. And Chris, I'm going to have to get you to show them because I can't find it in GoTo. But here's what we don't want you to say. Don't be alarmist. Don't try and scare people into action. We never respond well as human beings when we're scared. It tends to make us, freeze or to freeze up or to run away, freeze, fight, flight, or frantic. Absolutely do not start telling lies for short-term benefit. And also information that's really homogenous or vanilla, it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't help. So don't think that, well, I'm scared I'll say the wrong thing, so I'm just going to say really, boring generic stuff. People will just write you off in that space and sort of think, oh, well, I can't learn anything here. There's no point being connected with you. So we really just want to be upfront and truthful, but looking at what the positives, being honest about what the negatives are, but then saying, and yes, but this is what that could mean for you. So let's dive in a little bit more on what that looks like. Oh, and so here's why we really need to avoid these negatives, because what we saw in that trust research was that 36% of clients actually decided not to use the agent that they most recently bought or sold with because they felt that the service was poor. And when we dived into the comments around that, most people felt that they hadn't been treated honestly, or they just didn't trust the person that they were dealing with, and so they moved on to their agents. So also, I don't want to be negative as we have this conversation, so I want you to focus on the positives, which is that there is over 60% of people inside your database right now who want to use you, who trust you, and who are looking for to get information from you as we go through what's happening in the economy. So what do you want to say, and how do you want to position yourself? Here's what we should be doing. I'm just gonna, hang on. Oh, I'm having a blinder, hang on. So when we look at prices coming down, well, look, they've come off all-time highs. If you've owned your property for a really long time, then you're still well ahead of the game. So the fact that next year you're not going to add another 10 or 15%, or in the next 12 months you're not going to add another 10 or 15% or 20% or whatever the crazy numbers have been, is a bit of a bummer. But if you've owned that property for a long period of time, Mr. Vendor, then you've done really well, and there's swings and roundabouts of the markets where you can start to benefit. When we look at inflation and interest rates going up, well, the easing prices mean that repayments are still in the same ballpark. So if you're looking to upgrade, the difference between them, the fact that prices are coming off by 2% or more, the difference in your mortgage, although it's going to be slightly higher, is actually you can actually make more money. Now, I did a little bit of research on this, and I'm going to bust out my numbers for you just to help understand it a bit better. If you are in the $1 million price category, if the price comes off by 2%, Mr. Buyer, then you're basically looking at the property coming down to about 980,000. If you are looking, which means that if you've got an 80% mortgage, you would have been paying $800,000 a year, but the mortgage on $1 million property would now be like $784,000. So even though the interest rate would be going up, you're actually only looking at about a $7,280 difference a year across the mortgages. So, so is upgrading to this property worthwhile? Is it going to change your lifestyle? Is it going to improve how you're living? Is it going to make your kids happier, your wife happier? It means that your payments are probably in the same ballpark. With cost of stuff living going up, here's the silver lining to that. If you can afford to be acting in this market, this is as tough as it's probably going to be. And so it's going to get, once we get through this period, and they never last forever, you will actually be in a much better position. The time on market issue, look, the market was really crazy previously. It meant that we were all making decisions super quickly. We've now got a little bit of time to breathe. People appreciate that. So let's start to make some measured decisions. And the issue around time on market, well, getting your pricing strategy is really critical. We can't keep pretending the prices are going up and up. You really have to be having conversations with vendors that say, look, we want to get the property sold, so let's make sure that the pricing is realistic, that we get the result you want so you can move on to the next adventure and buy a property in a market that's also moving down, because there's greater benefits in doing that than hanging on forever for an unobtainable price. So here's what our sellers really want to know in detail. Everyone wants to know, is it safe to sell now? Like this safety issue, it's one of the things that really motivates us. They really want to understand how much the price of my home has been affected. And so being able to show them the difference in price compared to what they would have got, but then if they're looking to buy up, how that equation works is really important. They want to understand how long it's going to take to sell in the current market, be honest with them about that. And what they really want to know is, what do I need to know to sell successfully? What are the mistakes I need to avoid? And how is the current market going to affect any decision I make to sell? And remember too, that our sellers especially are often researching the market and thinking about it for a really long time. So basically you want to make them feel like there's no major advantage in holding off any longer. Now is a great time to sell. And one of the other things that I hear in this space all the time is that when I get asked from friends, relatives and colleagues about what should I do with property, everyone wants to buy at the bottom of the market. Everyone wants to buy when things are like, a good buy. But then when the market is in that position, most people are too scared to act. So I'm sometimes just pointing out to people that look, that, you know, markets come up, they go down. We're in the down spot at the moment. They're going to come up again. But now, if you're thinking, if you're wanting to do it while the market's on the move, now is one of those perfect times. You want to really stay connected to your sellers, and you want to build their confidence so that they're choosing you when the time comes for them to sell, when they do finally feel like, right, safe, we have to do this right now. Now, here's what buyers want to know. They also want to know, is it safe? Should I be buying right now, or should I be waiting? They want to know how far prices have fallen. And of course, they're looking at that through the lens of, well, does that mean I can negotiate really hard? No, they should actually still be really realistic in their negotiations. They want to know, how does the interest rate versus that falling prices equation work? So step them through, you know, have some examples of prices in your area, and, you know, how they have come off versus and what sort of standard interest rates might look like in that space, so they can start to understand it. And what do I need to do or know to buy a property successfully in the current market? So look at the reasons why people are missing out on properties, and start to sort of pull them into like a bit of a list as what things people should be doing, not be doing, if they're looking to really buy now. And so here's what we really want to do with these guys. Like, buyers there's not as many of them out there at the moment, so we want a really strong database of buyers up our sleeve, so that we can be talking to our vendors about them and what they're looking for, and starting to promote homes to potential sellers, starting to promote our database to potential sellers. And here's what our investors want to know, like, why now is a great time to buy their next investment. You should definitely be talking to your landlords out there. You want to be talking to them about how much rents have increased and what they need to do to maximise their rental returns. They want to know how, you want to explain to them how the delays in supply chain is affecting repairs and maintenance. And so to start to get on top of repairs and not leave them to the last minute, because they won't be able to be turned around quickly if you know, parts are needed and things like that. But you also want to explain to them what the current environment means for their property, and whether they want to sell it right now. So, you know, it might be a good time to cash out of an investment depending on where they are in their investment cycle, or it could be a great time for them to start to look at investing again as rental yields go up and prices start to ease. So there's some great conversations we can be having with different parts of the market. And you want to be really building a reputation with your investors by helping them grow their wealth, and to change it away from just, that's something the property management team do, to actually this is something that our company does, or our business does as a whole. And renters too, like, please don't forget renters as part of your email marketing campaigns. They need to know generally how much rents in your area have increased, and how tight vacancy rates are locally. If they understand what's happening for your suburb or your neighbourhood as a whole, it means that when you talk to them about their rent increasing, they understand that it's not specifically about them. You're not personalising it, or you know, or punishing them. So talk about what the economic environment means for their tenancy, the delays in supply chain, and helping them set their expectations around what's realistic around repairs and maintenance. But also encourage those that you can in your rental registry, like, what is now a good time to be a first home buyer, or to move from being a renter to an owner, and what you can offer to support them in that space. I mean, there's a lot of first home buyer grants out there at the moment, and there is still a lot of encouragement of people to move from renting to buying, and improve special encouragement and packages out there to get people across into owning. We want to we really want to basically have on our database a database of great tenants, so that when we do have our new investors come on board, we've already got a list of renters that we have had property rented to for a long time. We know they're really good tenants. We know they're going to look after the place, and we kind of want to reward them by moving them into the, you know, better homes as their old properties become unavailable. And we want to be able to tell investors that you've already got a great list of renters who are ready for them. So let's have a quick look at the resources, and how do you make it part of your weekly routine? Well, Inside Active Pipe, we have our real estate content. There's a whole lot of news styled articles talking about macroeconomic trends, just as we did during COVID when all of the legislation was changing. We've pivoted some of our content now, and we're looking at what's happening in the current market and how real estate agents, what you need to say as a real estate agent to share that information with your audiences. There's still also a lot of evergreen articles. There's over 1,000 articles looking at common questions asked by sellers, buyers and investors, but we do now have an awful lot of stuff around interest rates, inflation, those equations, the swings and roundabout equations, and once you start to find them, you can drag and drop them easily into your emails. That then creates an automated landing page, and whenever someone who has opened your email clicks on those stories, you'll start to see the engagement levels. So you're starting to understand who in your email list is really engaging with the content that you've got, and these things are all triggers of intention, like basically giving you intent signals that people are thinking of acting. And you can really easily integrate this content into recurring campaigns or automated campaigns that you've got set up so that you can set and forget. Now, if you're doing automated campaigns, I would be tending more towards evergreen content because the newsier articles can time out pretty quickly. But all of that information is there if you're wanting to do, like a monthly update on the economic situation and send that out to your VIPs and your broader database, or you can dig deeper and find specific articles that are helping buyers, sellers, downsizers, upsizers that are also categorized according to the local market as well. So here are some automated campaigns that you should definitely look at setting up. First home buyers, we want to start sharing with them weekly open for inspection updates, letting them know that there's still property out there, alerts when new property comes in, recent sales and tips on buying in the current market. Your investors, you should be really engaging with these guys at the moment because the market is really positive for them. Investment tips, rental performance and property matches. Upsizers, we want to be sharing with them that whole swings and roundabout equation. We want to be giving them the market update, encouraging them to not feel scared about the fact that the price of their primary property at the moment may have come down a little bit because what they stand to gain in upgrading is significant. Renovating or selling, well, you do not want to be renovating in the current market. It's a nightmare out there for the cost of equipment and the time it's taking to find things. So there's some great news stories around that you can be sharing that's encouraging people to sell rather than renovate. And property matches, so what are properties that match their goals. Downsizers, lots of downsizing tips. Buying off the plan stories are really helpful to this audience, and recent sales of homes like theirs so that they can see that good, strong prices are still being achieved. And for sellers, of course, we really want to talk to our sellers, but we want to be sharing with them the recent sales of homes like this. So setting it up at the back end so that we're matching people with 4-bedroom homes to recent sales of 4-bedroom homes. And we want to give them how to sell tips, selling in the current market, and how the market is performing. So here's what a nurture campaign would look like at the moment if you're trying to attract first home buyers. So we want to be sharing some information about buying in the current market. Once they're identified as a first home buyer, then send them an email with information outlining some info that they need to know right now. Maybe tips for securing your loan. It's a little bit harder to get a loan. You need to provide more information. Let's share what that looks like so that before you start diving into the market, you've got all your ducks lined up. How to inspect a property, always important, even harder at the moment if you're trying to pull together inspectors and things like that, but you might have a link to people that they can use as part of that process to be extra super helpful. And then I think also an article looking at, well, should you play hardball? How should you be negotiating in the current market? I see a lot of, or I hear a lot of stories about buyers thinking that they have the upper hand and then getting very upset and disappointed that they don't. So we really need to be educating buyers about being realistic and sensible in the current market and making offers that will get the property that they want, rather than trying to save, a couple of grand and missing out on their dream home. So now we need to tie it into our calls. So we've been sending out information to our database, and basically what we don't want to then be doing is ringing up people and saying, oh, hi, it's Joe Blogs from Joe Blogs Real Estate. Would you like to sell your house? We can be a little bit more subtle than that. We don't want to be the weirdo stalker guy. And what we really want to do now is a great time to start to clean up your database and identify anyone who doesn't have an email address and that you've only got a phone number for. So here's a little bit of a script for you. The economy means that the property market's in a state of change. I wondered if you were interested in understanding ways to make more confident decisions in the current market. And ideally, you get a yes from that. Well, we've got a newsletter that is providing some really valuable information about how to navigate the market at the moment. I was wondering if I could email your copy. And then once you've got their email address, you can then ask, so is buying or selling something that you're considering at the moment at all? And you can progress the conversation from there. But I have so many conversations even to this day with agents who, because I'm on the, I live in an area that a lot of people want to buy and sell into. So I get calls all the time and they are so transactional. Hi, it's Joe Blogs from Joe Blogs Real Estate. Would you like to, how are you going? You've been in your property for a while. Would you like to sell it? And we have no rapport when that happens, and there's no connection. And while things might be being sent to me separately, there's no connection between the two things. So recognize that you're sending information out, or that you've got information that you can share, and try and use that as the bridge to start the relationship. And here's the thing, you don't want to open and close the client in the first conversation. You want to be using the information that you're sharing, and you want to be using the conversations that you're having to open the conversation, then use the email to continue the conversation, and then checking in with them or using their intent signals to recognize when it's time to close. So this is how you're going to see that, by reading your dashboard. So use the dashboard to see who has opened emails and connected with the content. Act on the contacts that have engaged the most. Like they're going to be prioritized in your dashboard, so put them on your priority call list. They're showing signs that they're engaged, and use the content that they have connected with as the basis of your call. Now, so you might see that that Kylie Davis has clicked on an article for downsizing, and when you kind of take a look, you can see that I've owned my property for 25 years, and so therefore I'm obviously a complete contender. It would be scary for you to ring me out of the blue and say, hey, Kylie, I see that you've owned your property for 25 years and you've been clicking on our content to downsize. Can I sell your house? That's a little bit confronting of a conversation. It shows that you've been stalking me. You need to go into it a little bit more gently than that. Pretend, to say, we've been delivering information to your house. I've seen that you've owned the property. I can see through, CoreLogic and that you've owned the property for a long time. Where's your head at the moment? Property prices are at quite historical highs, even though they're coming off a little bit. It could be a good time. You can ease into that conversation and get to know me a little bit better. Buy me flowers, buy me dinner before you jump straight to the business end of the transaction. So yeah, ask curious questions rather than assumptive questions when you're talking to people about the data that you're seeing in the dashboard. So now is absolutely the time. While the market is on the move, market deltas are always when people feel the most insecure or the most unsure, and it's when they are looking for reassurance. So this is when people really need your expertise the most. The majority of your clients already see you as a credible source, so lean into that. Like do the work that actually helps them confirm that belief about you. Be honest and transparent with what's happening, but share what you know about what's going on in the market, and share what the positives that you're seeing in the market without being too Pollyanna. Help your clients make confident long-term decisions in the market that are going to genuinely benefit them. And then use the data insights and follow up to cement the relationship further. So look at what they're acting on, have curious conversations with them about that, and open up a dialogue. Because here's what we're trying to get to, and this is how it all pulls together. How you position yourself is backed up by your professionalism and how you conduct yourself. That's then backed up by how you scale your contact so you can deliver consistently, and that's in like providing emails that are going out to different audiences at the same time. That then also is backed up by the empathy that you show people when you meet with them in person or when you're speaking with them in person, and that's how you build connect and you build rapport with them. And then all of that ties into how you build your reputation and how you are perceived in the market. So your marketing, your conduct, your business process, and your friendliness and empathy, these things are all interconnected in establishing trust and building your reputation. And market deltas, when the market is on the move, these are the times when reputations are genuinely made, not when everything's smooth sailing and it's all, happy days all the time. So that's it for me. If anyone's got any questions, please pop them into the chat or questions. Pris, I'll have to ask you to tell us what they might be. But we have a whole pile more information in this space about in our library of content. If you're not using the real estate content or our market site through your current plan, by all means talk to your success manager, success@activepipe.com. If you don't know who that is, we've got a lot of more blogs on this kind of content and how to do it on the blog at activepipe.com. And on the next slide, I've got a whole pile of resources and other webinars that you might want to watch as a catch up to get some more details on how to do it.